The amount of anticlimatism low. Nice. Sweet. All right. What is up, beautiful people? Um, it has been a minute since I have run these office hours. Our very, very good-looking Akash was running them for the longest time, and he still be. He's just stepped away for a bit. He'll be back very soon. I hope all of you are doing fabulous. I think we've got 600 people for this event. That is nuts for kickoff in January. Welcome from different parts of the world. For those who've been to the events, welcome back. For those who've just started, welcome for the first time. We've got two very, very different hairlined individuals. One clearly who takes care of himself, and one clearly who had engineering take the better half of him. But with that being said, Happy New Year to everyone from everywhere across the world. The way I usually run this is to at least at the bottom of the Zoom, you have a little chat. Can you drop in where in the world you're from and your favorite food so that we know who we're dealing with and who I may potentially not like? Because if you come and tell me things like, I don't know, uh, what is it? Baklava. No, I like baklava. Yeah, if you tell me like raw onion food is good, I would. Pot roast. Pot roast is good. We can deal with pot roast. Mexican food is incredible. A baguette. Nathan, you can't just like bread. You probably want to like a little more than bread. Favorite food, steak. Unfortunately, as much as I would like to, I don't want to go to hell. That's only I'm joking, Jeremy. Welcome on. I love my. I can probably know everything out to how to cook a steak, but I do not know how to cook a steak to save my life. Grant, welcome on, sir. I know we were meant to catch up, and I've been an absolute flaky little shit, so I'm sorry for that. Hopefully, I will justify it very soon. Um, you got Canada, nice. You got Czechia. I'm gonna screw that over, Tomas. But welcome on board. Spain and Indian spicy Mexican food. Um, Spain, I've heard a lot of good things about picanha, but I've never had it. But I just watch a lot of YouTube. Let's call it that way. Like I said, nice. We've got people from all over the bloody world. We love it, love it, love it. Welcome on. We've got a very, very popular person on the cold email space and lead gen space over here. We got Atishay, who's one of our highest performing agencies. You can see that with his show off in the background. He has more smart lead tabs on the back end than I do, with the little boring one on my side. Atishay's been with us for a while. He's kept us on our feet. He's told us about how we can be better, and he runs one of the best agencies in the world that we know of, at least on Smartlead, after serving nearly 20,000 customers every single day. So Atish has got some exciting things to talk about around how to scale, an outreach to SMBs specifically without burning your domains or your budget. And I can say this with utmost trust because I got to meet Atishay. Atishay held me to the ground where he talked about, competing products and deliverability on other sides and how we can be better, told us to be better. Still questions me on a few things on WhatsApp, does not leave me alone when I need to make things the right way in terms of how we do tracking, API setup, our fingerprinting, and that's how we tend to be better as well through the advice he gives us as well. And that impacts everyone here. So, Atishay, absolutely fabulous to have you on board. Thank you for joining us. We're very honored for having the first office hours of the year, and that too with a fabulous showcase of over, like I said, 600 people. So let's get it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming on all the way from different parts of the world. Let's smash it. Smash it. Smash it.
Amazing. Thanks so much for the lovely intro, V. Everybody, nice to see you and happy to kick off the first office hours. So, like we said, we do a lot of outreach to SMBs, and oftentimes when you read advice on LinkedIn and when a lot of people are talking about outreach and best practices, the things that they usually talk about don't always apply to the SMB market, right? And in fact, a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today, they might sound counterintuitive. They might sound like, stuff that you should not be doing. So I'm going to talk about how we email personal email addresses, Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail addresses. I'm going to talk about how we make the most of generic email addresses and lots of other stuff. But without wasting further time, let me just quickly share my screen. I have a quick deck up here and let's dive in. Can somebody confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, sir. It's perfect.
Okay, amazing. So yeah, this is again a lot of this advice is exclusively for SMBs. So there's a few things that you would want to do differently. Obviously, the cold email fundamentals they stay the same, but there's a few things you might want to do differently if you're targeting like larger companies. Today, I'm just talking about companies say between 1 to 200 employees, or most of them smaller than that. And this is a quick screenshot from our 2025 Smart Lead Wrap. So we got like 15,500 leads, 145,000 replies, 2025. And a lot of that is from SMBs. So like I said, the first thing I want to point out here is if you've ever done outreach to brick and mortar stores, your local service businesses, your your tiny IT companies, anybody that's less than 200 employees, sometimes even less than 100 employees, you'll see that you commonly run into these kinds of issues. You don't get enough responses, which is a deliverability problem. You don't end up finding the right kinds of leads. Maybe you find very few leads, or maybe you find leads that have nothing to do with what you're actually trying to sell to them. You don't find decision makers, or you don't find enough decision makers. You don't know how to personalize because, a lot of the industries that I'm talking about, they're not active on LinkedIn, so you can't find information off of people's LinkedIn profiles. They don't post enough, they don't comment enough, so you can't use those regular intent-based strategies to find those leads. Then following up with them is tough because you don't know how many times to follow up. And when you're trying to scale your campaigns, you get the metrics wrong, you get high show-ups rate, you get high no-shows rate. And it's overall it's hard to get ROI on this unless you do certain things right. Right. So let's start about like I'm just going to go into breaking these down one by one and telling you how we've found workarounds around each of these problems. And the first one, and the juiciest one to tackle, is deliverability, because this never goes away, right? Like cold email, if you look at it, it's a game of cat and mouse where you're trying to get into people's inboxes with your offers, and the ESPs are trying to keep you out. So when you're reaching out to these kinds of companies, and again, I emphasize when you're reaching out to SMBs, the one thing that we found works the best consistently is using Google inboxes. I know there's a lot of advice out there about using Outlook inboxes, using Azure shared inboxes, and those kinds of infrastructure. But for SMBs, and we've tested all of this, we still use several different vendors. But the only thing that's performed consistently for us is Google inboxes. So if you're trying to do this for your business, you're better off just using Google for like, just 80-20 rule. 80% of your results are going to come from just sticking to Google. The other thing, if you're reaching out to domains that are, and if you're, let's say you're targeting finance companies, even smaller finance companies, or small PE firms, or those kinds of shops, they have protection. So they use SEGs, or secure email gateways, to protect their email, to protect their users from phishing attempts. So this is stuff like Barracuda, Proofpoint, Mimecast, and other secure email gateways. If you're trying to target companies that use these gateways, you are better off using older domains. And this is why the simplest thing that I can advise to anybody here is, even if you're not running a large scale outreach campaign, you're like, it will only benefit you if you spend a couple $100 to purchase a few domains and just let them sit inside your domain registrar, let them age. Because when you do decide to do outreach, these aged domains are going to have an edge, compared to domains that you just bought 2 weeks ago and you're using. In fact, many Outlook even has a policy where domains that are less than 30 days old, they are automatically suspected for being, for like they're just viewed with suspicion. Now, the bonus tip here, and I know a lot of people here might be already doing this, is how do you determine what ESP or what inbox service your recipients are using? So there's a free API, dns.google/resolve, that gives you the MX records being used by any lead in your lead list. And all you need to give it is the domain of the lead in your lead list. So I highly recommend running this for your lead list so that you're able to understand which of your leads are using SEGs and which of them are using regular Google inboxes. Once you use this process, and feel free to screenshot this, this is the Clay formula we use. This is the API call. Once you figure out which of your leads are using Google, when you're launching brand new campaigns, the first thing you should be doing is reach out preferentially to recipients using Google inboxes. So reach out to them first, and save your SEGs, save the harder to land in primary inbox recipients for later, once you've built some reputation, once you've gained some trust in the eyes of your ESPs. So those are the three pieces of deliverability advice. And again, this is just a quick recap. Feel free to screenshot this if you want to, take it home. And I understand this audience, everybody here is already using Smartlead, so you already know the basics. Get your SPF, DKIM, DMARC record set up correctly. Keep warmup on always. Send no more than 20 cold emails per day. If you're sending 20 cold emails, send 25 to 30 warmup emails. Let Smartlead vary your, total number of warmup emails every day. And, just the basics. Like you see all of these tips even on the Smartlead UI. So nothing fancy here, but these basics matter because if you don't do it, then these advanced tactics, like they just fail. Okay, so that was around deliverability. And the next thing that I want to talk about is lead list. And we've run into this problem for so many, like we've had this problem ourselves. And anytime we speak to someone who's trying to scale cold outreach to SMBs, they run into these issues as well. When it comes to these kinds of businesses, the smaller businesses, Apollo and ZoomInfo are going to fail you for two big reasons. Number one is when you look at the industry filters on Apollo. So if you were trying to build a list of dentists using Apollo, you would probably go into the keyword section, use dentist related keywords. You'd go to the industry section, use healthcare. You'd add some size filters, and then you'll realize my list is too tiny. Like there's no way there's only 2,000 dentists in all of the US when I know there's 2,000, more than 2,000 in my state, right? So for industries like these, Apollo and ZoomInfo fail. And then the second thing is, even if you do reach out to that list of 2,000, imagine the number of people that are already reaching out to those exact same lists, like to that exact same list. It just makes it harder for you to sell because you're selling in a noisy market. And that is why for these businesses, it is much better to start by building account lists by going where they hang out. And the beautiful thing with SMBs, especially with service-based SMBs, is that there are tons and tons of industry-specific directories where these businesses sometimes even pay to get their name listed, right? I'll give you an example. We were running a campaign recently for targeting dentists for one of our clients, and this campaign, even though our list was like maybe a couple thousand people, they ended up closing 3 deals out of it within a couple of weeks of running campaigns. And the reason we were able to do this was because instead of targeting all dentists, we picked up one directory. It's the directory of US Association of Clear Aligners. And we just reached out to those dentists that offered clear aligner treatments, promising them more clear aligner patients, very specific messaging, only 3 sentences in the email. And that sequence did much better than our broader sequences that were targeting dentists. So scraping directories is not only going to get you leads, like leads that no one else is reaching out to, it is also going to help you create more relevant messaging that speaks to your prospects' pain points. And I'll also tell you now, the other question is, how do you actually scrape directories? Most of these directories, they don't actually list prospects' emails, right? They would just give you the company name. Some of them would give you a phone number. Some of them would give you a website. But it's not too difficult to go from a company name to getting an actual email address. And this is what the process looks like. So you scrape a directory using something simple like Instant Data Scraper, get all of that into a CSV file, upload that into Clay. From those company names, you can use Clearbits APIs. This is free of cost in Clay. Use Clearbits APIs to guess the website associated with that company name. Create a waterfall where the first step is Clearbit API. The second step is using Claygent to Google that company's name and pick up the first link that is an actual website that is not a social media page or a Wikipedia page. It's very easy to create this, like just literally just what I said, type that out into Claygent and let it give you domains for all of these companies. Once you have a domain, you can use Claygent to scrape that domain, find generic emails from the website homepage. You can use Claygent to find their Facebook page, their socials, and find the email addresses from there. And you can also use Claygent to find decision makers' names for those domains. Now, once you have decision maker names and domains, this opens up the possibility of using any of the millions of enrichment tools out there. You can use Lead Magic, Find Email, Prospeo, whatever you want. With a name and a domain, you can find their email addresses. So this is how you actually build a list that covers your whole TAM. And if you're like, you go from just 2,000 dentists in all of United States to 30, 40, 50,000. That's the list building piece. Now, I mentioned a couple of things here that go against conventional wisdom. Number one, reaching out to generic emails. And number two, personal emails. So when you're scraping Facebook pages or Google Maps or Yelp directories, you will often find that a lot of people just put their Gmail addresses there, right? And some people think that, you know what, I can absolutely not email Gmail addresses. Like I'm going to go to jail if I do that. That is not true. And here's how and again, I'm not a lawyer, so consult, take legal counsel before you do any of this. But here's how I think about it. If someone is putting their email address out there on a public facing website, on their Facebook page, they want people to reach out to them at that email address for business inquiries. And unless you're actually, selling some kind of a scam offer, it is completely logical and even expected for you to reach out to that email address, even if it's a Gmail address. And in our experience, reaching out to Gmail addresses, it gets you just as many responses as business addresses, if not more, because Gmail and Outlook are not as heavily guarded by SEGs or by spam filters as your regular Google inboxes. And with the kinds of emails that we write, which are plain text, no significant HTML, no marketing buzzwords, no spam words, you are likely to inbox in those, you are more likely to inbox into personal email addresses than business addresses. So don't just skip the possibility of reaching out to personal addresses. Same thing applies to generic email addresses. And in fact, I even like reaching out to generic email addresses for two reasons. Number one, many of these emails are service emails, which means they will respond to your email no matter what. So this helps with your overall email deliverability, overall email health, because every email you send, they will send you an automatic response or they will send you a customer support response. And this in turn teaches the ESPs that, you know what, whoever the sender is, they are getting significant engagement, which means they are probably not sending spam. And number two is a lot of these businesses, right? They could be clearing a couple $1 million in revenue minimum, and they would still be using the decision makers would still be using these basic email addresses because, let's say it's a tiny doctor's practice or it's a small practice with a few staff, and the owner still manages all their email from a generic address like this. So your odds of reaching a decision maker are still pretty high if you reach out to these addresses. So that's when it like that summarizes the whole list building thing. Now, when it comes to relevance, I already touched upon a couple of these things when I was talking about lists and copywriting. In this case, with relevance, you won't.
Atishay, if I may just interrupt you for a second, sorry, before we jump, because I think people's brains are already exploding. Um, just wanted to maybe drop in with some questions to ask you from what you just raised so far,
Okay,
right?
sure.
Um,
Well,
that's first one. People want to know if you're going to be sharing this document or not.
yeah, sure. I'll just
Sure.
drop it.
Okay. Not now. Whenever you're ready. Don't worry, team. That you'll all get an opportunity to ask questions to Atishay if you stick around till the end. And but just before we go on to the relevance part with LinkedIn signals and so on and so forth, I wanted to understand with respect to when you said you reach out to generic email addresses, how do you then check and verify them, and are you in particularly careful with catch-alls and that side of deliverability and verification, or you do not care?
Right. So this is a good point. With these generic email addresses, you'll find that some email verifiers, they just flag all of them as
Yeah.
invalid, right? So right now, so first we don't reach out to any catch-alls for generic
Okay.
email addresses,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Number two, anything that comes out as valid, we reach out to those addresses. Like it's
Okay.
really that simple. We don't
Okay.
complicate this logic.
And when you reach out to them, are you doing any sort of personalization? Because obviously you're doing info and contact. Are you saying, yo, I know you're the CEO or the founder of the company, or who exactly do you address this to, or you keep it generic to the top level?
Right. So when we reach out to generic emails, we've even tried sending emails with absolutely no salutation. So we
Wow.
don't
Okay.
even say hi, Deborah.
Mm,
We'll just write in two sentences talking about what we can do, and then that's it, right? And
nice.
this is the next bit as well. So when you're sending these kinds of emails, you don't want to be, you don't have their first names very often. You don't have their LinkedIn. You're going to use company level personalization.
Got it. Okay.
So
Sweet.
that's what we do
Good.
for most
Okay,
of the
sweet. And then one last question to ask you. Someone asked, have you used smart service before? Have you seen it make much of a difference, or the private infra doesn't make that much of gap for you?
It does. So we've used like for many of our campaigns, we use smart servers.
Okay.
And every time we use them, the campaigns with smart servers always perform better or just as well as, our
Just
regular
before.
ones.
Okay, that's because we've seen people have different, like some have no change, some have great results. And interestingly, I think the SMB space seems to be one where that matters. And sometimes even the Fortune 500, mainly because of, I guess, the way the SCGs operate and so on and so forth. But just before we jump in, everyone, we've got a couple hundred of you over here. Stick around till the end. Atisha's got some great stuff, but we also wanted to speak about something very, very exciting and different, and probably, I don't want to say life changing, but financial changing for a lot of you. The biggest change we've made to Smartlead since we launched in 2022 or 2023, 22. And I don't mean that with a joke. It is the biggest change we made. It's not smart prospects, it's not smart agents, it's not anything around that. It is a fundamental change in the way the business operates, and it's going to impact every single one of you and probably the industry as well. So just stick around. And I mean, smart prospects still there. It's good to go and everything's sorted, Andrew. But I think you're going to care about this. And give me another 10 minutes. I want Atishay to have and speak through whatever he has to. And then I want to share that with the rest of you. The reason why I want you to all wait is whoever sticks around, obviously, Atishay's got a lot of value to add. But whoever stays around, we've got your email addresses and you'll be the first ones to get access to that. And I assure you, it is going to matter. Sweet. Atishay, floor is yours.
Absolutely. So yeah, we already touched upon this. When you don't have personal level information, the only thing you can do is get creative with company level personalization, right? So here depends on the personalization that you use. It has to be relevant to what you're trying to sell. For example, whenever we're selling SEO offers, we try to use SEMrush data to say things about their website that would still be only true about their websites. Then you can also collect testimonials from their company pages, and you can say things like, I saw John's testimonial on your page, and that made me want to reach out. And you have to connect it. The key thing about personalization is being able to connect it with whatever it is that you're selling, right? And that is why, the example that I gave to Webof's question, we've tried emails with literally just two sentences, no personalization, and they do well. No, not even a salutation, because instead of saying hi or hi there or like something like that, I would just save those two words and lead with something that either makes them curious or makes them click. And when you're scraping directories, when you're building relevant lists, the thing that you can, so your first sentence is going to look super personal. So even if there was no hi first name, you'd say, I saw you on the directory of US Association of Clear Liners, and just seeing that to the prospect who's only seeing the email preview, that alone makes them want to click and want to read the rest of your email. Because with these kinds of directories, usually there's a qualification process, right? So they had to work hard to get listed on that directory. And sometimes they even had to pay that company under the table to get listed on that directory. So when you reference that, they want to respond to you, right? And again, finding these directories is, it's not easy. We've created, at this point, we have a ChatGPT prompt that we use with thinking more extended thinking enabled, and we feed it the industries, and it gives us the directories that we should go and check out and scrape. So if you want, I can share that prompt as well. So we use that prompt to find directories. We scrape those directories, build your list, and that is what helps you with relevant personalization. Next up is follow-ups. This is super simple. Don't overcomplicate your follow-ups. A lot of people, they get hung up on, I paid for this lead. I need to keep reaching out to them until they respond. You need to realize that it's better for you to reach out to leads spread out over a period of time than continuing to bombard them with emails in the same chain. What we like to do is we send one, at most two emails per lead. And if they don't respond to those two, we just hit them again 2 to 3 months later with a completely different email, different offer, different copy. And there's a reason. The thinking behind this is the reason they didn't respond to you when you first reached out to them was because it's either that your offer did not resonate or the timing is not right, right? And that's why we do one follow-up, so that in case they miss the email, that one follow-up, that makes sure they didn't miss the email. But if they still don't respond after two emails, chances are they're not going to respond right now. So you're better off hitting them again next quarter with different messaging, different offer, different copy, and that is when you get their attention. So that's what we do. That's our follow-up strategy with these businesses. And usually when you're targeting SMBs, you typically have a decently large TAM, which means you're not going to run out of companies. Now, obviously, if your TAM is only 500 companies, and this whole approach is not going to work, you need to do ABM, that's a completely different ballgame. But for the kinds of businesses we're talking about here, you can easily afford to retarget them every few months. Talking about metrics, these are the big three we track. So 2% reply rate, 500 PCPL. And this metric here, this should be your North Star for all cold email campaigns, right? PCPL, so for everyone here, PCPL is prospects contacted per lead, right? So this is the number of prospects you contacted divided by the number of leads your campaigns generated, lead being a positive response. And the lower this number is, the better your campaigns are performing, the healthier your campaigns are. So if your campaigns, this is the reasoning logic you want to be using. If your campaigns have a PCPL higher than 500, there is something wrong and you need to go figure out. So PCPL higher than 500, if you're following all the best practices, can be due to one of two reasons. Reason number one, deliverability. So now you go back and look at your reply rate. If your reply rate, including out of office emails, is greater than 2%, you don't have a deliverability problem. If it's less than 2%, you need to go and look at your copy. Are your subject lines clickable? Is your copy good? If all of that checks out, simply replace your domains, use different domains, use different senders, and that should help you get your reply rates back up above 2%. Number two is a strategy problem. So this is where you need to dissect and look at, am I reaching the right people? Is this relevant to them? Am I saying the right things to them? Is my offer worth responding to? Is my email easy enough to respond to? Should I try sending them a lead magnet? Should I try offering to do something for them in exchange for a response or a booking? So that's when you dissect your strategy. But that really is how the decision tree for cold emailing works. PCPL North Star, deliverability, strategy, and then you do if-else decisions and go from there. From all of this, the output is positive replies, and those positive replies turn into bookings. Your show up rate on bookings should be 70%. That's the number you're striving for. And this is where to get to the 70%, especially in the SMB market, that's where the next step comes in, which is fixing no shows and calling people on the phone. So as soon as you get a positive response, and this is not even, I'm not even talking about just this industry, any industry whatsoever, if you get a positive response, your first priority should be to give them a phone call as quickly as possible. So right now we have a Clay table set up where as soon as we get a positive response on Smartlead, that response gets pushed to Clay. Clay enriches that lead, finds their phone number, sends that information to Cloud Talk. Our SDR calls that prospect within minutes, right? And this is critical for you to be able to convert as many of these leads as possible into actual appointments. So call them ASAP. Cannot emphasize this enough. And when it comes to fixing no-shows, I assume a lot of you, and if you don't, the obvious thing to do is set up Calendly workflows, set up pre-call reminders, SMS, emails, text messages, all of that good stuff. And also have your sales reps, when they start their day, in the beginning of their day, have them text all of the prospects, send them a personalized message, be like, hey, John, we're set to meet today at 2 p.m. See you there. That's it. A lot of the times when you're reaching out to people who own the business and are also involved with fulfillment, they just forget about the calls. Like, it's not that they don't want to attend, they just forget. So send them a manual text the morning of the call, give them a phone call if you don't join on Zoom, and just conduct your discovery, conduct your intro call on the phone. Like, you don't necessarily have to wait for them to join Zoom. So the point being, meet your prospect where they're at, understand the industries you're going after, and be willing to meet them where they're at, rather than just sitting back and complaining, or these people don't join Zoom. I don't think this is working. So those were the big few pieces of advice. Again, it was all sporadic. It's just based around things that we've seen don't work. But yeah, I see a few more question notifications here. So I'll
Sure,
let you
let's go
take.
for it. We're going to jump into questions, but before we jump into questions, I did want to take 2 minutes of everyone's beautiful time to maybe take a quick. Actually, you know what? I don't want to mess up the chat over here, but some quick announcements because I think it's worthy and respectful for all the hard work that the team has done. Um, we can jump back into your screen share for a second. Devesh, if you can just control that. And then what we will usually do, Devesh, I mean, firstly, Atishay, that was mental. I think we're probably going to have you take that and bring that up again, and we're going to have a few questions come in. But everyone, before you have your questions, like I said, some very quick things to talk to you all about. I know you're on edge. Don't worry. I'll try my best not to be a douchebag about it. So, number one thing for all of you, I'll start from uh, really exciting to super exciting. The first thing, Smartlead is bringing its own smart dialer into the product. So you will have a multi-channel experience along with the whole HeyReach and Infox setup that you've got through smart agents. So you will be able to make phone calls directly from the product. The phone numbers will be sourced directly from the US or European nations according to what you need or want. We've got our own vendors to work through that for you. It will be obviously very affordable, and you'll have all the agentic things that you'd want from AI note takers, automatic follow-ups, action items, and so on and so forth. So if you are using a power dialer type experience outside, you can now blend that into the core product as well, and you should be perfectly good to go. Second thing, I wanted to take a quick moment and share my screen very, very quickly before we then pass the mic on to Atishay. You're going to see my screen and you're going to see the URLs, but luckily the URLs are not accessible to everyone. So two big things that some of you are going to see come your way. I'm just going to show one screen that is just like a little brief. That is effectively what everyone's new user experience is going to look like starting in about 1.5 weeks. Yes, we have rebuilt and revamped the entire campaign experience, the campaign management experience, the lead management experience, and the entire user experience altogether. So this is potentially what your new email account section looks like, giving you complete details into how every single segment of your entire sending, your activity, your leads, and all of that looks like right now. That's what you're going to get. Now, only that, you also see not only week by week analytics, but if you actually click into it, I don't know where I can find that. Yeah, you can actually see your daily breakdown. So you can see how your campaigns are performing on a singular basis. And not only that, when you click into that, you'll actually be given, oops, let me find it for you. Granular level activity in terms of what has happened each time mails have gone out, where you need to focus on, what you need to do, and so on and so forth. So just as an FYI, I've just taken a very quick moment to show you this, but there's a lot more here. Now, before we jump into the thing Atishay is going to talk about, the biggest thing that I wanted to speak to everyone about, the thing that's been scaring me and keeping me up at night, but also very excited as well, most likely keeping our content at night. For those who are aware or not aware, Smartlead has fundamentally now changed the way we effectively bring value to you. So previously, or maybe this is where I'd like to take an opportunity. If you can open in the chat section, anyone want to take a wild guess what we are going to talk about in the next 5 to 10 seconds? Take a wild guess. Whoever wins will probably, I'll drop early access to y'all. Anyone? Any guess? If you keep it empty, CRM function. Oh, we already have CRM functionality. We've got new pricing, phone outreach is there, people lead response, stop charging by lead storage credit, automations. So Anish, we already have automations. You have smart agents that you can use, and that's completely AI driven, and you don't need to ever learn how to code. But yes, everyone, we are now going completely paper price, and we are no longer charging for storage anymore, and we are only going to be charging for the sends that you send. So unlimited storage is going to be fully available on Smartlead, and that's going to cost you only $9.99. Nope, I'm kidding. It's not $9.99. It is going to be just a measly $174. So for $174, you now get unlimited storage. This is what your new pricing is going to look like in a few hours for everyone who wants to get access to it. You are going to, it's about a $90 jump. And with the $90 jump, you get 50,000 verified, triple verified leads from smart prospects that are fresh every 2.5 weeks. You will be eligible for our ultra premium warm up pool, and you will most importantly get unlimited storage. Never have to pay for storage again. Right now, if those who are agency owners over here, you can go to the Prime plan and get 170,000 leads on top of that. I mean, 170,000 verified prospects every single month for free. I want to be very clear for you all. You'll also get your own private infrastructure that are authoritative 3 servers consistently with your own private labeled OAuth if you want. You'll get your own clients and, of course, your own dedicated Slack channel and everything else that comes along the way for you. So you can, so this is 379 for 500,000 cents, and this is 174 for 150,000 cents. And you can also go for different price plans and additional cents and stuff if you want. So we start and charge only for cents. So yeah, that's all there for you. And of course, when the data is stored for you, everything gets better. You've got your reply agents that will help you be more efficient in the way you're responding back. You've got your agentic experience that's going to help you go ahead and create automations that you like. And of course, like someone mentioned, you also have your own power dialer come in very, very soon. That is an AI dialer as well. We will not do AI phone calling for you because we can't. We're not legally allowed to yet, but we will give you all the real-time advice and feedback that you need. So with that being said, yes, LinkedIn automation is already available through HeyReach. So We worked very hard for this. We're scared. We're excited. If you see this on your screenshot, you're very lucky if you select it. Definitely go ahead and take a screenie and post it on LinkedIn. Tag us. We'd love to be part of that journey with you, and we'd love for you to be part of that journey with us. And before I get too boring and I speak too much, I'm now going to pass the screen back onto Atishay. So the way we want and usually work with this team is we would like for you all to have your questions ready. If you have your questions in place, put your hand up. Um, and the way you do that is effectively you have a little react button at the bottom. And the react button, you can just go ahead and raise your hand. So raise your hand, and then what our team is going to go ahead and do is we will request you to turn on your camera, because without turning on your camera, we cannot go ahead and spotlight you. I'll jump off the spotlight. You'll still have the other pretty face available, which is Atishay, and yourself at the same time. And yeah, feel free to ask a question. I would request you to not make the support questions. He's not here to run support chat. You can more than welcome reach out to any of us. The team's fully available and ready to help you out. But anything with what Atishay has shared, I'm sure we want to be very respectful. We'll take a few questions, Atishay, depending upon his time. Obviously, we have locked in for the hour. So if we run over time, we'll call it a day. But if not, feel free to raise your questions and answers. So, boom. Devesh, do you want to start? So we can maybe start with Anish. Anish, do you mind turning on your camera, please, and unmuting yourself? Lovely. Devesh, do you want to just spotlight Anish and remove me?
Right, perfect. This is
Just
perfect.
a sec.
So I want to start with this that I was watching a YouTube channel and that led me to get to Smartlead, and then it was crazy, and I was been watching you Tisha, and it was awesome the value that you provide, and I can see from the way you talk, I can see the knowledge that you have accumulated in all these months. But the question that I will ask you is the one thing that is the main problem that actually gets in my email campaign is the email copy. So actually, I want to do this. I want to show you my like actual email copy that we'll be using. Is that okay?
I'm fine with it as long as
Yeah,
you
I
have.
mean, we just want to be contentious of time, Anish. But yes, feel free to just run that if you want like a quick overview. We can, we'll probably ask another 1, 2 minutes, and then we'll get someone else to take on. But yeah, I think the floor is yours.
So this is my copy. This is my copy. It has the personalization. It has like two, three lines of work. Basically, writing these emails from a cleaning company to property managers and property management companies. So this is my first line personalized. This is body, and this is the call to action, and this is like low barrier call to action. So can you tell me like what are the critiques on what are the things I can improve, or is this perfect, or like what I want to do like after going forward with this?
Okay. So whenever you're looking at email copy, you want to reverse engineer how the prospect is going to receive this, right? So when they see something like this, the first thing that gets them to open is the first sentence. Here you're saying, so you're managing properties at Mac Property Management, and then you have an M dash. Remove that M dash, that's a telltale sign that this is AI written. So even if you're generating your first lines with AI, just apply a simple formula within Clay to replace that with a regular dash. So do that. So you're managing properties at Mac Property Management. Do your cleaners usually show up on time, or do you end up chasing them? I would replace this whole first sentence. Either just don't say saw you manage properties. Like this is obvious, like saw you working at company name. Obviously, I do work at company name. So either say saw Mac Property Management or saw your five-star Google star rating Mac Property Management, or something else, something relevant that you saw that actually made you want to reach out. Or just skip that. Just say, do your cleaners usually show up on time, or do you end up chasing them? Right? Then the next thing that stands out to me is your call to action. Does that kind of speed and stability will help you? So first is, and Grammarly is already highlighting that there's a grammar issue there. And the second thing is you want your call to action to be a close-ended question that either gives them something or tells them, this is exactly what's going to happen. So instead of asking something like this, like, does that kind of speed and stability help you? What you could say instead is, would it help if let me just read through the offer. So we keep two crews backup pipeline. So you're selling cleaning services, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to figure out something that you can do with your cleaning services. It could be a quote. It could be, would you like us to visit your site, do a free assessment? Or you could say, where our crew is in the area on XYZ date. Do you mind if we drop by for 5 minutes, do a quick assessments? Usually we're able to give, undercut your current provider by 10%. So give them a reason to want to say yes and make it low lift for them, right? And this like the offer, the example that I gave you, this is going to work very well because you're just saying, we're in the area. I could just have our crew come to your place, tell you how much it's going to cost, and usually we just like, we're going to save you 10%. So use something like that for the call to action. The body is fine. You're using social proof, so that's good. And you're talking about, you're going from 5 days to 2 days. That's also good. The email's short, so good job there. No tech, no HTML, no links. That's good. Um, yeah, so that would be my biggest, like those would be my biggest points of feedback.
Gotcha. So first thing was the opener. So what I wanted to do initially is to say like, hey, I saw you started or you joined this company because I can scrape that LinkedIn experience and I can make it more personalized by saying like, I saw you guys, you started with working with Mac properties and like around 220 or something, and then from there go to that's how I want to start with the personalization, and then I'll do the CTA changes. So do you think that will work if I can just mention the year that they actually joined the company?
Yeah, that would work. But the thing to think about is how many of your prospects will that be applicable to, right? So with this one, it will work, but that will dramatically reduce the size of your list. Do it for the portion of your list where it works, but for the rest, either use something that's easier to find or just cut that out. My razor for email is if you're not sure, I should put it in, or if you're unsure whether or not this is going to work, just remove it, make it shorter.
Gotcha. All right, that's pretty much it. That was my
Easy.
first and last question. So yeah, that's
Thank you so much, Anish. Thank you, Atishay, for that. Atishay, before we go on to Nikhil, Stefan, or Stephanie, sorry, Dylan, I have, I think, two interesting questions from people. One is, do you have any top line recommendations for learning clay? Seems like that's obviously something a lot of people want to pick up. Do you have a course yourself? Do you have things you can recommend or areas to go?
Right. I mean, I don't have a course, but usually like there's videos on how to do specific things with clay on the YouTube
Mm.
channel, on our YouTube channel. And if you want to just learn clay to be good at clay, then obviously you can go to Clay University. But when you're learning clay, you need to kind of figure out what is the end goal. Like if you want to get better at clay and then get jobs as a GTM engineer who's an expert at clay, Clay University, go from end to end, learn everything. If not, if you're just trying to accomplish something, just go to YouTube, search for videos around that specific thing, and learn from doing. Like just figure out one thing, then tomorrow figure out something else. And as you use the tool, you'll just get better at it.
That's the perfect way to put it. I think when you just do it theoretically, you just end up, like a headless chook. But when you have a clear agenda, it works a lot easier. Awesome. That is fabulous. And one last thing before we go into Stefan, um, it's an age-old question, but it keeps changing. What are your thoughts on links on emails? Do you still avoid it? Do you do it as part of like the follow-up? Where are you standing right now?
So we don't send links in emails. Again, this is something that we've tested, not at scale, but something that we tested recently. And I am kind of not wanting to give this away, but if you send Google Drive links in emails, we found that it did not impact deliverability at all. Like we sent people a Google Drive link in our follow-ups, and this was only to
Easy.
Google recipients, and nothing happened. Like no problems with the domains. We're still using those domains, those senders. So
Nice.
that seems to be working. Again, haven't tested this at scale. We only sent to Google recipients, and the whole hypothesis behind this is, they don't like links because they think links could be scams. But if a link is
Unraveling.
verifiable, why would they not want a link? So that's what we've been doing, and you can test this out and let me know how it goes for you.
Nikkei, that's smart. Cheers, man. Sweet. Devesh, Stefan, do you mind? Okay, great, lovely. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Very well presented. Question. So, mass personalization versus the old way syntax, spin syntax. The mass personalization we use in Clay, how big do you see the leverage? Is it overhype or is it make a huge difference in a campaign?
So Spintax and personalization, those are two completely different things, right? So the
Yeah, I
object
see the versus, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't compare those two because your personalization is supposed to make your email easier to read, appeal more to the prospect, tailor your outreach to what the prospect wants. Whereas spin tags, the main utility of having spin tags is deliverability, so that not all of your emails sound the
Mm.
same, right? So you don't have to use one or the other. You should use both. And if you're asking me if the real question here is that if we do enough personalization, can we skip spin tags? If that is the question, And the answer to that is
Yeah.
yes, as long as your personalization is heavily guarded. So I am not a fan of completely AI written emails. I would rather you use AI to scrape specific websites and write like 3 to 6 word phrases and use those phrases as variables in your copy rather than fully AI written emails. That's what we like because AI tends to mess up emails often.
If I redo the question, do you think my mass personalization break or make a campaign like is a huge difference of leverage for a success of a campaign?
Can you define what you mean by mass personalization? Like, what do you mean when you use?
Like using clay, and the first line is personalized to every contact by using clay. Do you believe using this make a huge difference in the performance of a campaign?
It will. So again, asking that question is like asking, if I go from a V6 to a V8, will I go faster? Yes, you will go faster, but then you need the roads to be able to do it. You need to know how to drive, and you need to be able to handle your car when your foot is on the gas pedal. So if you're doing it right, yes, it will impact your campaigns. Your personalization is relevant. Yes, it will work, but it's not guaranteed, right? So I mean,
Mm,
it's hard to give you a general answer, but go in with this understanding. It is a good skill to learn how to mass personalize your campaigns, and if you do it right, you will see an uplift.
okay. If for the price of the new pricing model, when is going to be effective?
Uh, 24 hours.
Thank you.
Easy. Thanks, Stefan. Alrighty.
Thank you.
Before we go on to Nikhil, then Dylan, one question, which is we'll jump into that. I think Alan's got a great question for you. Atishay, just do you see a big difference in response rate when using generic emails versus decision maker names, specific emails for SMBs? I know you said that it doesn't matter much, but I'd be curious if you've seen any differences at all or nothing. That's from Alan.
Right. So response rate is going to be higher when you're reaching out to generic emails. Now, again, response rate does not mean responses from actual human beings. A lot of those responses are going to be automated service responses, but you will get more replies, right? Now, that's a good thing for many reasons. One of them being more responses equals to more incoming email equals to more trust because, whatever you're sending, you're also getting it back. But at the same time, that does not mean like the whole reason you want to reach out to generic emails, your primary motivator should not be deliverability. Your primary motivator should be your ability to cover more of your time. So just because you don't want to miss out on companies where you didn't find generic contacts or direct contacts, reach out to decision makers. In terms of booking appointments and converting those appointments, we've seen a lot of booked appointments coming in from generic emails, which is why we started doing this 2.5 years ago, and we continue to do this. So absolutely go for it. Don't skip generic emails.
Lovely. Thanks, man. That is fabulous. Sweet. Nikhil. Okay, we've got Dylan. Dylan, floor is yours. If you can unmute yourself.
Awesome.
Easy,
Yeah,
man.
thanks, guys. And first of all, awesome presentation. Loved it. So I guess my question would be, as I'm just, I've been a LinkedIn guy for like a year now, so I'm just starting to get back into cold email for a new venture that I'm building out. So I guess my question would be, I know you touched on, generic emails, specifically maybe for more SMBs, maybe on the more local side as well. So, and I'm assuming you, of course, a lot more experience in this than I do. But basically, yeah, my question is that I'm starting to run a campaign that's targeting local service businesses, and I have a clay table running on the back end that basically, takes their website, does a, pattern guess for the email based on owner names, gets me the direct owner address. So just, wondering like what kind of differences in terms of like both performance and both, maybe copywriting strategy that you've seen between, reaching out to the more generic emails of these local service-based guys and the direct owner emails.
I wouldn't change anything with the copy. So here's the thinking behind using generic emails, right? You're still hoping that that generic email gets to the owner. So you're still writing as if you were writing to the owner. The only difference is in this case, you were not able to find the owner's name. So you're either going to start your email by saying hi, comma, that's it. Or you want to don't say things that sound cringy, obviously, but that's it. That's the only difference. The rest of your copy can still stay the same because your offer, your value prop, your proposition, your social proof, all of that doesn't change, right? And your personalization is going to be based on the website anyway. So don't change anything, just remove the first 2 words of your email.
Yeah, no, awesome. And have you seen any like kind of performance differences between the two?
No, we just find that like I said, when we reach out to generic emails, we're able to squeeze more juice from the same industry before having to switch industries or before having to come up with a new angle, because now we're able to reach out to people that we didn't find direct contacts for.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, that's all I had. Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate it. So thanks so much for that.
Epic. All right, we've got Nikhil. Before and anyone, if they've got their hands on, you can go ahead and ring it. Also, I'm just gonna make you feel a bit weird if you're this only one. I'll add myself in there. Nikhil, do you mind turning on your camera, please, if you're still around? La, 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 la,
Yeah,
la,
I would
la.
like to, but my actually webcam is not working.
That's
That's
fine. Well, I don't know if we can add you to the spotlight because we can't, but you're welcome to ask a question. I'll pretend that it's
yeah.
me.
Hi Atishay, hi Vaibhav. I have a question. Like I'm a new guy in this cold emailing and all this stuff. So I just wanted to ask a question. Like I have two things in mind. Suppose if I just target first SMBs, the small business owners, or if I should target the agencies, like what is the reply rate between these two categories? Like does agency owners have a higher reply rate, higher open rate, and they are like more professional? Like we get more shows or like no shows and less shows in SMBs.
Um, First off, like the one thing that immediately stood out to me was open rates don't track opens, send plain text. That's going to do you well. Second, reply rates are really contingent on your list and what is it that you're selling to them, right? So there's like it's impossible for me to say you'll get better replies from this industry versus that industry. Also, SMBs are, most agencies are SMBs. Like there's very few agencies that are not. So you're essentially just reaching out to the same audience, and your reply rate is going to depend on what you say in the email, what is it that you're trying to sell, and the other components of email strategy.
Okay, thank you. Like I have one more question. Like, does cold emailing works in the B2C businesses? Like, we do sell some digital products, so can we just mail to some personal Gmails? Like, hey, if you would like to try this out, our product. So does it work for B2C category?
So if you have their emails, again, the biggest blocker with B2C is you need to find a way to collect their email addresses. Now, if the email address is available publicly, like if you find a business's email address on their Google Maps, Yelp listing, Facebook page, then you're fine. It's a public email, anybody can send them an email. But if you don't have their email addresses and they haven't opted into your list, um, that's, like you could get into legal issues with doing that. If you're fine with taking that risk, by all means do it. I haven't done it, so I wouldn't know if that kind of outreach would work or if it would even be worthwhile. So, can't really comment on whether or not it's worth doing.
Okay, thank you very much for your advice, Atishay, and thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. No worries.
Awesome. Well, is there any other question we've got? I know we're right on time, so it's perfect. If there's no other questions, no one's got their hands up, we're just gonna take one more question or two more things from the chat. One thing, I'm actually curious to know this. We got Schooly Online. That's a very interesting name if that's what you're been named by your parents. I'd say that for sure. The first question is, I've got Atishay, your take on sending from at gmail.com.
We haven't done that, and I think you would, but if you try to do that at scale, you'd run into issues trying to connect your accounts to to any sending platform.
Yeah. Mm.
So I don't know if it's worth doing. And honestly, like when you purchase a bunch of Gmail, yeah, like I haven't done it, so I
Yeah,
just feel like
cool.
it's a bit of a hassle. But yeah,
Yeah,
if
it's all
you're
good now. It's I didn't want to answer that because I was like sometimes people like swear by it and I don't want to like put my bias in. So it's very interesting. Two very interesting questions. Do you mind dropping Atishay maybe your website if someone wants to work with you and your YouTube channel as well? Because I think a lot of people are interested. Equilaterally team will be sharing that on Slack as well as post email. But Devesh, if you have it, can you just drop that on the chat for everyone to get access to? Actually, it looks like we've got three more questions. We will just take those last three. Appreciate whoever's got those questions to just keep it simple and straightforward so that we can be respectful of Atishay's time as well. Atishay, that's of course if you've got another 5-10 minutes.
no, happy to stay back, answer
Okay,
questions.
sweet. So just 5-10 minutes and then we'll go ahead. So Schooly Online, I love your name. I need to know how you got named that. But you can unmute yourself and floor is yours.
Uh, can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you.
Okay, actually, this is my firm name, my company name, so it's not my name. My name is Ankush, and my question here is, I do have some old Gmail inboxes. Can I mix up my old Gmail inboxes to the current Smartlead inboxes, or uh, it will impact my deliverability or spam issues with the current one? I just want to understand.
Again, you'll have to add them to connect them to Smartlead. So I think that's along the process of connecting those inboxes and then using them, you might get stuck up at some point. I haven't done it, so can't really comment on that. But yeah, like that's app passwords that you need to set up, and yeah, it's not going to be simple.
I can just
So,
help you out very quickly. I think Ankush, right? If I
mhm.
got your name, you can just go to the global analytics section of your Smartlead account. You can tag these old Gmail accounts with a certain tag, and then you can actually see how just those mailboxes are performing on a reply rate perspective because you can filter by the tag on the GA, and you can see if it's actually worthwhile keeping them around or not. But I don't think having them blended together is going to have an impact on your net outcome because they're all treated independently of each other.
Mm.
Got it. Correct.
Cool.
Got it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We've got Keen, who's got his camera on already, so we'll probably start with Keen, and then we'll go to Jarek right after. Sweet. And then Stefan. Go for it, man.
Yeah, thanks for hosting this and thanks for sharing a lot of value. I have two questions, two short questions, because you're sending a lot of mail at scale. What's your current strategy with deliverability in terms of rotating your mails or rotating domains? And let's say, and the second question is if those emails or domains are they burned forever, or do you just pause them for X amount of time and then reuse them for another campaign as well?
Right. So a domain once purchased stays with you for a year, right? And right now, when it comes to deliverability, what we do is we measure deliverability by domain and anytime. So we measure, I'll explain the whole system. We do 5 windows of 7 days each, 5 rolling windows of 7 days each. And if in those 5 windows, we see that a domain has less than 2% reply rate for all 5 of those windows, we stop using that domain immediately. We cancel our inboxes and we replace those domains in our campaigns. So that's the tactic, and this can be automated, so it's all done automatically. That's how we manage inboxes. Now, when it comes to trying to get your domains back and hoping, it's not worth doing it. So, like we keep our domains, obviously, it's there with us, and I hope someday, we are able to reuse them because we paid for them. But it's never going to happen because, when you get a new domain and even if it was burnt in the past, when you try to use it, there's always going to be that suspicion of whether or not it has recovered, right? And when you're trying to use that domain, your reply rates could be low, and then you're sitting there wondering, is it my copy or is it the domain? So best practice, just cancel the inbox, forget the domain ever existed, and just keep purchasing new ones. That's the way to go about it.
Yeah, I guess that's the price that you have to pay then to play this game.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Thanks a
better
lot.
to just like do things to sustain your inboxes for longer. And once it's gone, just don't try to, it's better to just let it go.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Mhm. For
Easy, man.
sure.
Thank you. Sweet. Okay. We've got two more hands. We'll get Jarek. Jarek. Okay, we got you. Okay, I didn't even do that, but now go for it. Go for it, Julia. You can unmute yourself. You can. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I did it. Hello. Nice to meet you all, and thanks for those great information. My question is, so if let's say we want to reach out to 200,000 prospects per month, what would be the best practice to do that
Okay.
through emails?
Right. So there's a lot of things. Again, the basics stay the same, but there's a few things that you would want to be doing differently, right? And I'm just going to cover the basics in terms of expectations and setup. So when you're reaching out to 200,000 emails, the results that you get when reaching out to 2,000, you're not going to get 100 times those results, right? Your results will drop. And this happens with any form of marketing. When you try to scale, your relative performance will drop, but your absolute numbers will increase. Number one. Number two, when you're trying to run a test at this scale, you want to be testing different angles, different lead lists, different pockets of your target audience, and you want to be like measuring that, like scientifically measuring that, not just looking at the Smartlead data, but actually capturing that information into a sheet or somewhere using automations and kill your winners quickly. So if you're sending 200,000 a month, that's 20 sending days a month roughly. That's 10,000 a day, right? So every day you have enough data to be able to kill 2 to 3 underperforming variations. So you want to be doing that rapidly. When you do find a winner, you cannot afford to just stop and settle with that winner, because when you're sending at this scale, you will run into copy fingerprinting issues. So even when you have a winner, understand why this winner is working and try to create different email copy variations using the same angle. How do you do that? You need to write completely fresh copy for each angle, which means new opener, use different social proof, different pieces of case studies, completely reword your email, use a different call to action, try to keep the angle the same. So when you're testing at this scale, you're not finding winning email copy, you're finding winning angles and you're finding winning positioning, right? So once you get those, try to create more variations of those. Then when you're doing it at this scale, you would also want to look at infrastructure. So you want to, in this presentation, I said for most people, it's just going to be good if you just use Google and run with it. If you're sending it at this scale, it might also be worthwhile. You're testing SMTPs or some of the Azure inbox, shared Azure inbox setups, because those are cheaper. So try those out, see if they work for your audience. If they do, amazing. You save a bunch of money. If they don't, stick to Gmail. So it's worthwhile testing those out as well. And there's a bunch of different things. So I actually made a full Notion doc, and I posted it on my LinkedIn the other day, just around like scaling outreach when you're doing a couple 100,000 a month. So feel free to check that out. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions on this. This is just off the top of my head. There must be stuff that I'm missing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yulia. We've got more questions. Sorry, team, we'll kind of take two more questions, and that's probably going to be all that we'll do, so that we're just be respectful of everyone's time. We've got I think Jarek. If you don't mind unmuting yourself and turning on your camera, so we can spotlight
Hi,
you.
can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you you able to show us your pretty face?
No, my camera is off.
Damn it. Okay.
My
Okay.
question is text emails versus HTML emails with unsubscribe link. What's better for the prospect's impression, basically, to get a text email with text like reply no to unsubscribe, or just to get an HTML email with unsubscribe link?
Just do text. If you're sending cold emails, just do text emails. Again, a lot of these questions, answers to these questions depend on what is it that you're trying to accomplish as well. But if your goal is to reach out to people that don't know anything about you, you're better off sending plain text emails that sound like a message you would send, someone. Just 2 or 3 sentences, plain text, no fancy unsubscribe links. Let them know, say, if you don't want me to follow up, just reply no, and that's it.
Yes, but that's some additional effort on their side to reply, right? But in HTML, they can just click on unsubscribe. What I'm afraid of is basically, they adding me to spam and hurting my domains.
So this is a trade-off, right? When you include unsubscribe links, what we've seen is you end up landing in, so if it's Gmail recipients, you'll end up landing more in promotions, because now your email looks like a marketing email. So
Oh,
do both if you want, if you're not sure, try both and let the numbers tell you which is the better way to go.
okay, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. All righty. I want to be super respectful. Stefan, Jan, I apologize. I'm just to be super fair with Atishay's time. And we'll probably ask you to probably drop your questions on the Slack channel, where we can still answer those questions for you right after, because I know we've taken enough of this time. So I apologize. I don't want to be rude to you guys, but I don't want to be rude to Atishay as well. So before we jump off, Atishay, if there's any closing remarks, things and places where people can find you, because I think a lot of people want to know where they can find your content, your information, things about you, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So, like again, thanks so much for hosting this week.
Yeah.
Lovely session, incredible questions. And if you want to find me, there's 3 places: YouTube, LinkedIn, and obviously the website. Let me just drop the links to.
Yeah, you can just drop the links again. And I think with the document link, everyone will follow through with that on Slack. We'll just check to see if Atishay is okay with it first, if there's any sensitive things he's got on the document before sharing it, and of course, if he's even okay sharing that to begin with. But anyway, thank you all. Absolutely fabulous. It's great to be back on. And wow, 2026 is going to be exciting. Have a beautiful day. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. Take care of everyone around you. Crush it. Live it. Let's get it. Goodbye. See you next year. Oh, well, next week. My bad. We've got the roundtable happening, by the way. We've got some of the biggest names in the industry over here come to talk about something very exciting. And yes, 3 things that don't end in life: taxes, death, and office hours on Smartlead. See y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.